I wanted to start the session with the questions that were sent in previously. I got questions from about 8 people. So let me start by sharing my screen, and then we'll get to questions that you guys have since you're live here. So let me start by sharing my screen. Bum, bum, bum. Unmute yourself if you are.
I know I posted a question.
I know you did, Anne. All right, so let's start there. Anne asked a really specific question, but it gets to the core of career break planning. So I think that's a good place to start. Let's see, Anne's question. Here it is. Can you guys see that? Yes? You can see it? Okay, perfect. Anne's gonna be in Spain for 3 weeks of graduate work, and she wants to travel prior and 4 to 5 weeks after. She needs suggestions of where to go, right? Anything you wanna add to that, Anne?
So I'm a teacher, so I have probably about a week before, then I go to graduate school for 3 weeks, and then 4 to 5. I think what I realize is I'm probably gonna have to do oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but where I'm just gonna be visiting on the summer, and then I'm going to think about the move later, because if not, just delaying everything until I retire just doesn't make sense. So I'm probably going to be doing sabbaticals every summer. And
Okay.
because of this, I don't know where to begin. What should I do? Where should I? Because I'm really open, but I want to use my time effectively and my money effectively.
Okay, so you're talking about how to plan like a summer sabbatical.
Yes.
Okay, I know Rebecca's a teacher. Do we have any other teachers here? Nope, that's it, just 2 of you guys? Anybody else who can take a summer sabbatical? Or a short time, maybe a different time of the year sabbatical regularly? Nope, okay.
I can take it regular.
Who was that?
Letitia.
Hey, Letitia. Okay, so I'm gonna give you, I guess, Anne, let me get back to you. What part of planning the sabbatical is, when you think of the logistics of it, is the biggest challenge for you? You said you want to know where to go, but is there another part? What about figuring out where to go is the challenge?
I think that's what it is. So I want to know how to effectively use spend my money and be able, should I do slow? Should I do short? Should I just focus on one area? Should I visit multiple areas? Should I just leave that area and, leave Spain and then go to other parts of Europe? So I'm looking at cost. I'm looking at effectiveness. As far as money, and so that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I don't know, because last year I went, well, not this past summer, obviously, the year before that, I did go to Portugal. I did go to Porto, and I went to the capital, and then I did go to Morocco. And I went to Madrid a little bit, and then I went home. But that was a lot. I was exhausted. I was really exhausted.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what I'm trying to decide where to retire. And I think I definitely want to go to Europe. So I guess my question is, should I do slow travel? Or should I not do slow travel and just stay in hostels to help? Because I'm not doing that whole couch surfing. But I will consider, even though it's probably against my religion, I'm joking, but to do hostels. But I've been hearing such positive things about hostels, I'll consider doing that.
Okay, so I feel like you already know the answer to your question about slow travel or not slow travel based on what you said from last year. Last year you went a bunch of places and you were exhausted, right?
Yes.
So why would you do that to yourself again?
Because how can effectively know where I want to go? And I think that's where I'm stuck.
Okay, but how can you effectively know where you want to live if you want to retire somewhere if you're only there for a week or 2? Like you're looking for a place you want to live, right? So you should try to be there for a longer time.
Correct.
So so I had to actually look up Salamanca on the,
Girl, in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, I was like, I don't know where this is. So
Yeah,
let me,
I study at the University of Salamanca. So it's on, it's closer to Portugal.
yes. So I looked it up. I got all of my map here, looked it up, saw that it is closer to Portugal.
Yes. There it is.
When you think of retiring, do you think of retiring like in this area, or are you thinking of other parts of Europe?
No. I'm open to retirement, like pretty much. I think I would like to stay in Europe though. I believe so. I think that to me, because I definitely want to do traveling when I'm retired and get to know other areas. So I did love Spain, but that's all. And I loved Portugal, but that's all I saw. I say everywhere. But am I just saying it because it's different in the US? Of course I loved it. Or did I really love it because I really enjoyed it?
I can't help you with that, but
I
can.
I wasn't looking for an answer.
I know. So if I were in your shoes and I had a few weeks after spending time here to travel around, I would try to hit some of the major cities like Porto, like Lisbon, like Madrid, Seville maybe. Do you like the...
I went to Seville, I went to Sevilla, and I went to Malaga as well.
Okay.
Cordoba. I went there too. So you see how exhausted I was.
I see. Of these, which one was your favorite city?
I loved Porto. I love Sevilla because I'm going to tell you what, the only reason why I like Sevilla, I mean, it's crazy hot. I went in August and that's the worst time to go to Sevilla. But I liked it because they realized it was more because they knew that I was Hispanic and they immediately said, your family's from Cuba. And I'm like, yeah. And I felt like they got me. But I don't, but I like to be near water, and Sevilla is not near water.
Okay, so let's look more towards Portugal. Are you comfortable with that, or do you want to stay in Spain?
So I know Spanish fluently. I don't know Portuguese, but I'm open. I did like Porto. I did love Porto. I'll be honest. That was like before I went to Malaga, I said, oh my gosh, I can see myself living in Porto.
Okay, so let me show you what I would do is if I was thinking about being in Porto for 4 weeks. So this is for everyone else, just to see how I kind of plan my trips if I'm taking a long trip, or how I think you can think about sabbaticals if you're taking one. Is we're going to start with Rome to Rio, because you got to get there. So, oh God, nope. Is this Spain down here? Nope. Sorry, you guys are blocking. This thing is blocking my screen. Here we go.
It's probably going to be Madrid.
Is that one?
It's probably going to be Madrid. On the airport, unless I'm going, the only way you can get from Salamanca is I usually take the bus, which is what I did. And that was a long bus ride. But that's, if not, I have to go I have to go back to Madrid for 2 hours and then fly.
I put the other one first because it seemed like Salamanca might be a neighbor. I wasn't sure Salamanca was a neighborhood in Madrid, but we're going to just go and try it with Madrid and see what happens.
Okay. Right.
They're not making this easy on us, are they?
No, they're not. Of course not.
To Porto. So the first thing I want to figure out is how I can get there and what the cost of getting there is going to be. So I go to Rome to Rio to see the different options. Now let's see if Salamanca, where they put us.
Ooh, those buses are much more expensive than when I went. Ooh.
Wait, let me figure out what? Hold up. They might be showing this in pesos since I'm in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
That might be what's going on.
I'm like, that's a lot of money for euros.
Yeah, they're showing you coming from Madrid to Salamanca to Porto. I guess they don't. No, they're skipping all the way through Salamanca. Let's try the other one for Salamanca and see what happens. Now, have you guys used Rome to Rio before?
I've never been.
Yes.
Did you like it as a tool? There we go. Whoever said yes.
It's sometimes helpful, sometimes not so much. But if I'm looking for, I started off when I wanted to go to Chef Shoen in Morocco. I was trying to find out the best way to get there.
Okay. I find it useful to kind of figure out what the different options are, because sometimes like I wouldn't think about a bus and a train. Let me click on the bus real quick and see, just to figure out if I can figure out what, it's pesos.
Yeah, it's pesos.
So divide by 20.
Okay.
Because I was like, that's kind of expensive. You're not going that far. Yeah. So I'm in Mexico.
In the top right corner, you can change it back to dollars.
See, it takes a village. Thank you. Here we go.
Okay, that's more like it.
Okay. So you can get there reasonably cheaply.
Yeah, you can.
It's not a big expense.
No. It's
so the next thing I would do is go to, is this going to be thingy? Booking.com and say I want to go to Porto. Check in. We're going to say, what month are you going to be there?
I'll be in there from July. It'll be July. So July 7th, 17th.
We don't need the exact dates. I'm just going to pick the whole month of July just so we can see what prices look like to stay somewhere for a month in Porto, what prices look like. Again, pesos.
What made you decide to use booking.com instead of, when I think like for a month, I would have thought like an Airbnb instead of, or does it give you all of those?
So I usually use Airbnb if I'm good at, but I also like to look at other options because booking.com has hotels and it has guest houses. It gives, I think, and hotels. It gives you a wider variety of options than you'll find on Airbnb. Now, I rarely book on booking.com. Usually if I'm staying somewhere for a long time, I look at Airbnbs, but for figuring out like what the prices are looking like in a city, I like to use something that has like more options than Airbnb. Because maybe the first few nights there, I'm going to want to stay in a hotel, and this will give me an idea of what I'm looking at.
TripAdvisor is a good resource as well.
I like TripAdvisor. I don't like their reviews, so I often don't use it a lot.
I like looking at their reviews, which is why I'm more apt to look there first, but I'm with you. I don't book there. Well, although there are places I have booked there because Rakuten does cash back. Mm-hmm. So I might sometimes.
It's expensive.
I think we'll find places that are less expensive. It just depends on what you want to stay at. So we can scroll down by neighborhoods and different options. We can also go to Airbnb, but this is kind of how I figure out, like looking at these prices. We're looking at hotels.
This is good. At least it gives me an idea.
It gives you an idea. We've seen everything from $1,000 to $9,000 for the month. So you know that like you have an idea of what it will cost you to stay somewhere for a month. Okay. Breakfast included. Is that a castle? I'm like, hey.
It's a twin, yeah.
And so I would go to a place like booking.com and probably go to Airbnb too if you're going to be there for a long time, if you're going to be there for months, just to kind of get an idea of what the prices look like. And then go to, as you know, go to Earth Awaits.
Mm-hmm. For the rest of the stuff.
And you were in coaching this week, right?
Yeah.
You came Sunday or Thursday?
I came Sunday. No, I came Thursday. Okay,
so yes. Let us do an advanced search. So if you've never used Earth Awaits before, it's a good way to figure out the budget in a city and to get additional information about the lifestyle, about pollution, et cetera. And we're not going to go through things the way we did the other day. I just want to pick out Porto and see if it gives us a sample budget of what things could look like. No, not Brazil. Okay, so Porto as a city isn't here.
Okay.
They don't have it listed here.
All right.
Let's see if I can get any information on Numbio. If you're not muted, can you mute yourself, please? Porto, Portugal. And what city are you in right now, Anne?
The closest city would probably be either Philadelphia or Newark, New Jersey. So either one. Probably Newark, New Jersey is probably going to give me a better flight. Oh, you're talking about comparison to Trenton, New Jersey. That's where you want to compare it to, Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if Trenton comes up.
That's all you eat anyway when you eat cereal.
Okay, who is not muted?
Okay.
All right, come on. I think because I'm on Zoom, it's taking forever for this stuff to. Okay, so.
Wow.
All the food stuff looks like it's a lot cheaper in Porto than your current cost of living. Eggs are more expensive. Cheese is more expensive. Okay. Beef is a lot more expensive, and so are bananas.
I don't eat meat. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall, this is the everything I do when I'm trying to figure out like the cost of living in a city. Use Eartha weights to figure out, to like create a budget for that city, or I do the comparison of like a place I know now.
Okay. Well, this is good to know. But
so you know, if Porto's a place for you, it's going to be overall between rent, if you rent a place, I mean, 52% is a lot cheaper.
Oh yeah. So would I rent for 1 month, or would I?
Probably for 1 month, I wouldn't. I'd say get a long-term Airbnb and maybe negotiate or see where you can get a discount, like a place that has a monthly discount.
Yeah.
I would do that. But if you plan on staying longer, yeah, definitely rent.
No, I can't because I got to come back to work, unfortunately.
Okay. But one day when you're retired.
One day, yes. One day.
Okay.
All right. Well, this was helpful. And thank you. Now I got a visual of what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Because I may decide to check another city, but that was a good idea of how to get
going through.
Okay, that was good. Thank you.
Glad that helps.
Yes.
All right. Let me go back. Stop the share real quick so I can see who's here. Who's here that sent a question? Tracy? Are you here, Tracy?
There is a Tracy.
I am here, but I don't think I submitted a question.
Maybe that's a different Tracy. There was a Tracy that submitted a question.
Maybe that's a different Tracy. I see you were a lawyer, and wow. I just want to know how you transitioned out of that.
Oh, it was pretty easy because my job went away. So that's how. No, the company I was working for went out of business, and I liked what I did, but I was tired of working for people. And so I was like, what if I just travel for a year? And then after like 6 months of traveling, I was like, I could never work for those people again. Like of not, after 6 months of not having to clock in or talk to people you don't want to talk to, or, do any of that stuff.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is what freedom feels like. Okay, no, thank you. And so I was like, I have to find a way to not go back. And I did.
Well, I'll get there soon.
Are you a lawyer?
I am.
You asked Tracy? Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
What kind of law do you practice?
I'm in-house. I do insurance defense for an insurance company. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was in-house. I did consumer auto finance.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm tired of billing hours, and I'm just tired of the billables, and I'm tired of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was like, I was applying for jobs and I was like, well, I don't want to work for you. Like I would go to these interviews and be like, I don't even like you. Like, why am I signing up to work? I don't. So I just stopped looking and decided I'm going to travel for a year and see what happens and like get a job when I come back. And then I decided I didn't want to come back because.
Well, you're hashtag goals right now. So
Oh, yay. Thank you. It took a lot of work, but I think once you make that decision that like, it's a hard decision to make, but once you make the decision to like try something new, it gets easier every day.
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah.
you did it. So goals.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else who asked a question and is here? I don't see, my question askers didn't come today. All right, so who does have a question today? Who else?
I think I asked the question. I'm not sure if you have it.
Sir, oh, you did. You did. Wait, I missed your name. Let me come back here. Cha-cha-cha, that's not what I wanted to do. Was yours how to take a career break with limited finances?
Yeah.
Okay, and then let me get this up then. Okay, so this was your question, Sarah. How to take a career break with limited finances. What if it's not a career break and turns out to be a whole shift in a different direction? So like I was talking to Tracy about, that's what happened to me. I thought I was going to take a career break. And then it was kind of like, no, this is just like a stopping point for me. So when you say a shift, I want to start with that part. When you say a shift in a whole nother direction, what are you contemplating?
Well, I'm an architect.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose like I'm more obsessed with like product design. So I started a product design company and I'm really loving that. But I'm sort of doing the architecture thing and the product design thing at the same time. Mm-hmm. I love both of them, but I am literally like leaving my job at the end of the year. I already have like 3 job prospects for like next year and I'm already overwhelmed like architecturally. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, do I want to do this? Because I've sort of decided to leave this job to actually take a break. And I do want to take that break. So I'm giving myself at least 3 months at the beginning of the year to actually like stop. And I want to go away somewhere. I'm not yet sure actually where. And yeah, so I'm kind of like thinking, oh my goodness, if I take this break, will I go back into, I think I don't know what I will like end up doing at the end of it, because I could end up running with a product design thing, or I could still do both. But I'm kind of not sure because like my love is really like, my heart is really leaning towards the product design thing. And yeah.
And the 3 job offers you have for next year are architecture jobs, not product design jobs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if you know what you want to do, why would you go back to architecture? Is it the stability?
I do like it as well. Like that's the thing. It's like I like it, but it gets boring because I think the difference between product design and architecture is it usually takes like 2 years to realize a project when you're doing, an architectural project. And with product design, there's kind of like, usually a 3 to 6 month timeline. It can become a year or something, but it's usually like a shorter timeline to kind of see something realized. So there's that gratification, and it's kind of less, what can I say, it's less nagging to kind of like have something go on and on and on and on until you actually get to see it come to life. So yeah, but I'm really leaning towards the product design. So I totally hear you. Like, why would I go back? It's something I guess I have to think about.
So I guess my question is, if there's a direction you want to go in, and you said you started a business in product design, right?
Yeah.
What do you, instead of considering your 3 months as a career break, and I want to be clear about what we're saying right now. When I say career break, I talk about like not working and not hustling. But is there a way that you could take that time and spend it on your business so that so that at the end of 3 months, you have a thriving business that you can move forward in and not go back to architecture and not look for a product design job?
I think so, but I'm kind of like torn because I want to do that, but I also genuinely feel like I'm really burnt out and I just need to, you know?
And I totally understand that. For me, I hear competing priorities. One is taking the break and one is like doing the work you dream about doing. And so how do you balance those out? I think that if your break, like 3 months sounds like enough time to be well rested and like ready for something new. Maybe not like completely burnout, but like still feeling much better than you were 3 months ago. Dividing that up and doing like working on your business might not leave you as well rested as you could be if you had a break the entire time. But I think that if you can create the business for yourself in a way where you won't feel burnt out in the day-to-day, then you're creating that future that doesn't lead to more burnout. You see what I'm saying? Like if instead of doing the architecture in a role that burns you out, you spend 3 months relaxing and also working on your business, and then you can transition into the business in a way that doesn't create burnout, then I think your future is set up in like a way where you can balance both things. You can balance that need for rest and the need we all have for, money to live. But
yeah,
I'm also a career break advocate. So I would also say like, just chill. Like normally I would say like, take 3 months, chill, don't do anything, live your best life. But if at the end of it, that 3 months, you're going to get back into another role that's going to burn you out, you haven't really made much progress. You know what I'm saying? Like you've done that thing for 3 months, you've relaxed. But if on day one of your new job, you start getting stressed again, like you're going to be back in this position like 6 months later, right? And so how can you turn this career break into, or we're going to say it's time off. We're going to call it a little time off right now. How can you turn this time off into something that ensures that in the future, you won't be feeling this burnt out again?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think I might, because I was also thinking about maybe taking a month, or a month and a half. Because the thing is with my business, I have like systems and people in place that can still, keep running it at least for like that long. And then, kind of like give myself like for the other month and a half, keep work for like half a week and maybe rest for the other half week and see where that goes.
That sounds good in theory. Like it sounds like a good plan. What I know from experience is that if it's a month and a half and you're going to be going back into work and you have your business, you're probably going to spend, that's 6 weeks, you're probably going to spend 3 weeks of that time thinking about the business and thinking about the things you're going to have to do when you hop into it. Because that's just how most of our brains work. You know what I mean? And so I would caution you, if it's a shorter break like that, that you really make it a real break, and you don't do work, and you don't think like make future plans. You're not strategizing. You're not, doing you're not working with your team. You're really taking that time off.
That's why I want to go away.
Okay.
Somewhere. Because I was thinking of like even going and doing like a silent retreat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's like a 10-day silent retreat and little retreats like that, maybe like in South Asia or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Because if I'm like, then there's like a 99% chance that I'm going to be drawn into it.
Yes. Yes, there is. Okay. So I think you know what to do on that part, and like the shift in the new direction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the limited finances part. When you say limited finances, like what would you like your budget for your career? Where are you, and what would you like your budget for your career break to be?
I'm in Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, like I started a business, so I invested like most of my money in the business, and yeah, therefore I'm looking at maybe like maybe let's say like $3,000 per month, like around there, $3,000 to $5,000 a month.
You can do a lot with that. You can do the students in my From Burnout to Bliss class that are here will know that we've talked about budgets a lot, and you can do. Letitia will tell you, and will tell you, you can do a lot with $3,000 to $5,000 a month. But it depends on how you want to travel. Like if you want to go to one place, like maybe 1 or 2 countries in Southeast Asia or somewhere closer, I don't know, and stay there for 3 months, your money will go far. If you want to go to 12 countries in 3 months, your money will go less far. So
yeah,
it's really figuring out like the best way for you to plan this and to stay within your budget. Let's see. I like $3,000 to $5,000 a month sounds totally doable to me.
Yeah.
It's actually on the high end of what most people spend on their career breaks.
I spend less. I'm happy to spend less.
You can definitely spend less. Yeah. So if you think about, go ahead.
Sorry, I was thinking about South Asia, but I was also thinking about like Seychelles, because that's kind of closer, I guess, like the little islands around there, or even like Madagascar. I'm just not sure about like, I don't know, places to go and things like that, but that's definitely closer and the flight.
Okay. Yes, it's closer, but is your money gonna last as long there?
Yeah.
And so so just like I did sort of in a very small geographical space for Anne, we talked about how much it costs to get there and then how much it costs to live there. I would start looking at those numbers for the places you think about going, because it might be cheaper to get somewhere, but if it's really expensive to be there, like when I think I was in France, and it was really cheap to get to Switzerland, but then I was there and I was like, y'all want me to pay what for what? Like, what are these numbers? So, like it doesn't matter how cheap it is to get there if when you get there, it's going to blow your budget. So I would consider going through a process like that. How long is it going to take to get there? Because you don't want to, have to spend too long to get somewhere if you're not going to go away for a very long time. If you're going to go away, what are places you can spend more time cheaply is what I would be considering if I were you.
Okay.
Totally doable.
Yeah, it is doable. I think like now that I think about it, it is doable, because it's just been like time, like I made this decision in maybe like early October, and I actually, ever since I made the decision, I actually haven't sat down to actually like, iron things out. So I really have like this is really helpful, like looking at all those websites and Numero and Dowe. That I think I'll just like get into that and yeah.
Okay.
Try
Yeah,
and
I
learn.
think that's a good idea. Thinking about the places that you can get to, places you can spend your money. I would say people on average spend between $2,000 and $3,000 US a month on career breaks. Some spend a lot less. Most people don't spend more. So
Okay.
something to consider.
Good. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Who else has questions?
Hi, Roshida. It's Janelle. I have a question.
Hi, Janella.
Hi. Um, I had planned to start my career break in January, and I had planned to start in Australia and work my way up towards Asia and move that way.
Uh-huh.
But given that we're in this COVID situation and not sure which countries, I had planned to do a year. Given that countries aren't open to us as US citizens, didn't want to have to go from one place all the way to the other side of the country to be able to. I wanted to plan it out such that I would be in certain regions at certain times. But if
Mhm.
regions aren't going to be open to us as US citizens, it has made it hard for me to try to plan out how this is going to happen for me.
Right.
And so wondering if I should just push it back. I even considered everybody's going to Mexico, possibly starting in Mexico for maybe a few months until things get better.
Remind me again when
Um,
you said you wanted to leave.
I want to leave in January.
Okay. This is going to be one of those do what I say, not what I do situations. Sorry,
Okay.
Janella. Because I'm
Yes.
planning on moving back down to Mexico City in December, but mine is a move. I'm going to be here long term. I don't know. Shalonda is distracting me with that cuteness
With the
over
dog?
there.
I'm sorry. Trying to get her ponytail together.
She's so cute. Okay. Janella, I don't know that I would plan to travel to many different countries right now, only because you don't know who's going to be willing to take you when you're trying to go. And as we saw last time, borders were closing like with no notice. And so you might fly on your way somewhere and then you get there and they're like, nah, girl. Between that and not having the range of places you wanted to go, if you need a break, like if you're like, I need a break or something bad might happen, like if that's where you are, I would say pick a country and plan to that's open right now and plan to stay there for however long you need. If your goal is to travel around because you feel like you doing that right now, I would say push it back for a little while. So push it back until at least until we get through winter and we have a better idea. As reckless as the US is being, I can only see more countries shutting their borders to us, not opening up. So I know it's not great news. It's not what you wanted to hear, but I would consider like a short-term move or pushing it back.
Okay, so thank you. That helps. And I may, do a short-term break in Mexico. Aside from Mexico borders being open to us, what else is, everybody's going there. A lot of people are there. What is so hype about Mexico?
So
I've been to Mexico a few times, like the Cabo, Cancun,
So as far as the short-term move goes, I'm not going to talk about all the people who are turning up in Mexico right now, because that's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about living somewhere for a while.
Yes.
You have a U.S. passport, right, Janella?
Yes.
So you can stay there for 6 months without doing anything. So it's really easy visa on arrival. You can stay for 6 months, which makes it attractive for a move. You don't have to do anything. You want to stay for 6 months. If you leave on like day 179 and come back on day 181, you get a whole another 6 months to stay there. So it's super easy to stay. It's cheaper. I'm not gonna say that they have a great handle on COVID, because the numbers in some of the cities like Mexico City, the numbers are high, but there are like 70 billion people in Mexico City. I don't know. I don't do these numbers for cities and stuff, but I can tell you it's like there's someone beside you at every moment. So there's a lot of people, but they take a lot of precautions, like temperature checks everywhere. Like we tried to go into a large public park, and they were like, that's cool, but come get this hand sanitizer and this temperature check before you come into the park.
I saw that. And I saw the hair thing.
Yes, they had sprayers in some of the cities. I don't know if you guys watched my stories on Instagram, but they have sprayers that you have to walk through to get into the central square where they disinfect you. Could I still be spreading COVID if I had it? Probably. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend to be a scientist over here. But the temperature checks are one thing I think they're doing that will allow people to know faster than what we're doing in the US. So they're taking some precautions that they're not taking in the US. I see more people in masks here than I was living in Florida, but I see more people in masks here than I did in Florida. All of the large gatherings that typically happen here are shut down. I don't think anybody's having a concert out here in Mexico. Like everything, as far as I can tell, seems to be shut down. So they're taking those precautions, which is one of the reasons I feel more comfortable here. It's also like, it's always felt like home to me. And so it feels like I'm moving back home. Why people are coming here right now, I think it's cheap and it's easy. Like I don't know if there's more to it. It's cheap, it's easy to get to. It's usually cheap to get to. It's not that expensive. I mean, people who are going to Tulum are sometimes shocked by the prices because Tulum's not a cheap city. But, as far as a vacation that you can take right now, it's not expensive. If you wanted to stay here long term, I think Mexico has the thing about Mexico is that most people don't understand it's like a huge country. And so there are a ton of different climates you can be in, a ton of different types of cities. So if you're looking for a city to be in outside of the US, you can find a city you love in Mexico. Like, I don't know which one it will be for you, but you can find one.
Can I just add that I was there in October for the month, and I would describe it as LA weather with Kansas prices. And it's also really cheap to get around inside of Mexico, like really nice bus lines that are really cheap. And so we vacationed in Mexico and then vacationed within the vacation and went to like Valle de Bravo and Guanajuato, and it was all really inexpensive. So getting, a lake area with beautiful waterfalls was like a 2-hour bus ride from Mexico City, where I stayed in Nápoles, which is like a suburb in the middle of the city. So yeah, the variety and the cost was great. I think that it just is such a different vibe than the US, and I think that's why a lot of people are headed there.
Yes. Okay, so I don't know who this is because it just says Zoom user. Who is this?
I am so sorry. I didn't set up. This is Amanda.
No, hey, Amanda. I was like, who's our secret Zoom user? Okay.
Thank you. That was good.
No worries. Yeah, that was really helpful. So I did the same thing. I've been here, I think next week will be week 6, week 5, I don't know anymore. And I've been to 5 cities, mostly taking buses around, super clean, super big, nice. And it's been really easy to get around. It's been super cheap overall. I went to some cities I wasn't that fond of. I went to some cities I love. And so, like I said, if you're here long enough, you'll find the place for you in Mexico. I'm a big Mexico fan, if you don't know. Yes, Latisha.
So, as you know, I am. That's where I'm planning to go. Is Mexico. I decided to start it with a sabbatical. Just a little bit of an update from my first coaching. So I did check into my job to see if there was a leave policy. And there is. So up to 6 months for any personal reason of your choice.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I work for the county. And so it's the state. And I talked to my supervisor, who's a millennial, who I profile her a lot because she's a white millennial, but very conscious, open-minded. So I always pull on her to, kind of test some waters or whatever. And she said, well, whatever we need to do, she was like, let's work on that. She was just as surprised as I was. And she was like, oh my gosh, 6 months. I said, yeah, I don't need 6 months necessarily this time, but but at least 8 weeks is what I'm looking at. Okay. And so she said, yeah, whatever we need to do to make that happen, let's make that happen. So I might be doing it a little bit earlier than my August date. So, but now I'm super nervous because definitely I want to go to Mexico. But if you could continue to expound on what you were about to say in terms of your experience with the different cities. I like water as well, but I like, kind of a comfortable place. I want friendly neighbors. I want good food. I want to be, and like you said, in a place where I can take the bus to the other cities, neighboring cities, whatever, to get those things if I need to. I have been to Mexico a couple of times. I have taken the ADO bus, ADO? I've taken that bus, so I'm familiar with public transportation, all that sort of thing. But I'm not sure where to go in Mexico. I just know I just want to be there.
Okay, so I am biased towards Mexico City. But first of all, before we get there, can we all take Letitia's story as a reminder to go in and check that HR manual, if you have one at your job, and see what it says about the leave policy? Because she would have told you last week she ain't get no leave. And now look at us. 6 months for any reason.
I have to take my time, for any personal reason. And it said you didn't have to name it or anything. I'm like, wow. What?
And I bet you nobody else at your job knows. Or you would have already known.
I'm sure they don't, because my supervisor, who actually works on the policies, is part of her position. We only do them every 3 months or 3 years or so. But it was her job to work on the policies, at least the sections of it. And but I don't think HR section was her section, so maybe that's why she didn't know. But she was totally unaware. She was like, "What? 6 months?" I'm like, "I'm just saying, it's right there in black and white."
Yes. Now go ahead, but you have to apply before they change that. In case no one knows, in case no one's paying attention, go ahead and put those dates down. Figure out when you're going. Yes.
And you can't just go in and change it. It has to be approved by the board. It has to be presented first. We're not even up on our 3 years in order to change it. So no, I'll have time. I have my time.
So everybody go in, even if you think there's no way on earth your job has a policy for leave, let this be a lesson. Go and check. Go and check and figure out what you have to do. All right. I don't want to talk too much about Mexico because I could talk about it for hours. We can also talk offline, you and I.
Okay.
I think that if I were you and I wanted to be near water, I would look up the big beach cities. I would figure out what's important to me, right? Is being near water important to you? Is being near expats important to you? Is being near Black people important to you? Like whatever things that you prioritize, and then do your research and figure out where you can find those things in Mexico. So almost every place there's a large Black expat population, there's going to be a Facebook group for those people. And so I would start searching Facebook and seeing if you can put in like Black expats, Playa del Carmen, and see what comes up.
I actually found a Black Mexpat community on.
Okay.
Well, I was just I like to do search options. So I'll look through the search and see where people are.
And see what you see. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's not Black Mexpat, I don't think. There's another group for Black people all over Mexico. And so if I remember, I'll make a note to send that to you. When I remember the name of the group.
Okay.
Can I get that as well, please?
Yes, Janella.
I have a question too.
Yes.
And all those things that you listed as far as like trying to decide where to go. Those are like my top three. Like I like warm weather. I want to be around water, and I'm not going anywhere where there's not already a Black expat community already established.
Agreed.
But so my plan is to, I'm gonna leave next October, so I got a little less than a year. But my plan is to go somewhere every 6 months. And of course, I'm starting with Mexico for what you just said. Like it's quick, it's cheap, the weather, the people, all of those things. So I was thinking, okay, I'll spend 6 months in Mexico and then go over to the Caribbean, then maybe go up to Europe, like trying to just kind of trek my way around and make a move every 6 months. Is that realistic?
Let me flip it on you real quick. What are your concerns about that plan? When you say it's real, is it realistic? What are you thinking about that would give you like a problem with that plan?
I guess the logistics of everything. Like, would I really be able to hit the areas that I want to hit every 6 months? Do people really do that? Like, I don't know. Because sometimes I know I can be a little too anal about how I make my plans. And so if, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out what any hurdles could be. Like, am I over planning, or am I not planning enough?
Okay, so my career break was technically a year, and I went to 44 cities. It was stupid. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. But can you go to a new city or a new country every 6 months? Yes, you can. So if I were replanning my break, and I was like, I have a year, I have 2 years, whatever it is, I'd probably do 6 months, 3 months to 6 months in each city, and then plan out side trips when I'm in that city. So 3 months in Mexico City maybe, and then a week in San Miguel de Allende because it's close by, maybe another week in Oaxaca, maybe every month a week trip, or every 2 weeks a weekend trip, so that I'm seeing more places, but I'm not moving every time.
Okay.
Because like Anne will tell you, when you move around, like moving around is the part that's exhausting. Like going somewhere for a week, you can handle that. It's a vacation. You know how you come home tired from a vacation? Doing that nonstop for a year can be exhausting. And so if you settle down somewhere for 6 months, you're going to take away some of that, like, where do I go to the grocery store? How do I do my laundry around here? But all of those decisions that you have to make when you move to a new place, it gets exhausting to have to do those every few days or every week. When you only have to do it once every 6 months, or maybe twice every 6 months, it's a lot easier. It takes a lot less. It will take a lot less stress off of you. And if you're thinking about moving abroad in the future, like I told Anne, you have more time to see whether you like that place. You're not just kind of in and out and doing like just touristy things and bouncing. Because that's also the thing that can wear you out, is when you get to a city and you feel like, these are the top 10 things. I must do all the top 10 things before I leave. You know, we all plan things differently, but if you want to hit all the top tourist spots, or hit like a number of things on your list while you're there, but you're only going to be there a short time, that might have you running the entire time.
Yeah.
Instead of like really enjoying the time that you have.
Okay.
So something to think about.
Okay, Roshida, I have a question. I don't even know if it's a question, but I'm going to pull the question out.
Go for it.
So I've already planned for myself and my 11-year-old daughter a year of travel starting in January. And we're just going to get around Mexico. We're going to go to like 4 different cities in Mexico and stay for like 3 months at a time. And she's in virtual school and I work remote. So that's the plan. We're just going to continue our lives from different locations around Mexico. However, I just recently started considering like upgrading at least some of this trip to a sabbatical from work in the last week. And it's because probably once every couple of months, I get to the point with my job where I feel like if I don't make a change, like it's going to kill me. And it's not because my job is just like, oh, so it takes 70 hours a week or is super stressful. It's because I don't enjoy what I do. It's okay. I happen to be good at it and it pays the bills really well, but it's tiring and it gets more and more tiring every year pretending to care about things that you don't care about. The problem is I have not been able to identify for myself work that doesn't feel like work. Like for me, it's all work. I'm not saying there's not something out there that I would enjoy doing and could make a living from, but I think I wouldn't find what that thing is while I'm consumed with my acting job.
Yes.
Acting like I care. Just being totally honest. And I struggle with guilt because I have, an amazing job that I'm sure a lot of people would probably give a limb for or whatever. And I appreciate my job for what it does in my life. But again, getting to that point where the anxiety is turned up and it's like, I gotta do something different. You can only take so much of that. So I guess my question is like, fear of sabbatical. I get it, that moment of like, this is what freedom feels like, because freedom is like what I ache for. I'm an adventurous person that loves freedom. I guess I'm just afraid that I get out there and I don't want to come back, but I also have to because I haven't figured out how to not come back.
How to not come back means money, or does it mean something else?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I really only plan on keeping my job for another 2 years. Like the plan is get the student loans gone because I just don't want to live with that on my back. And so I figure because I'm living really budget conscious now, I've been doing that all 2020 and that's my new lifestyle. I'm selling everything as we speak. I just think that if I do a sabbatical, that the issue is going to be that I'm going to be stressed out about having to return to work for not having identified how to not work. So if I go with the original plan, which is to go ahead and work 2 more years, get rid of all debt, right? I'm giving myself 2 years to figure out what else I want to do so I can transition to just a completely different lifestyle, expat life, maybe some sort of, other sources of income supporting my much less expensive lifestyle.
Okay.
It all makes sense.
It does make sense.
Okay.
I normally tell people that you can do once you have an end date, you can do anything. Like if you know when you're going to stop doing something you don't like to do, it makes it much easier to continue doing that thing because you know when you're out.
Yeah.
But also 2 years is a damn long time. Like if you're already at the point where you're like, F this job, the 2 years is a long time to be stressed and unhappy in a job. And so one thing that Mel Bailey from the Baileys Go said to me, I interviewed her for the YouTube channel. And one thing she said was that she wasn't scared about coming back to find another job when she came back because she didn't like the job she had. And so she knew she could always come back and find another job she didn't like. And that stuck with me. Because it's true, right? Like a lot of times we're like, I don't like this job, but I don't want to quit. And it's like, why? Like if you don't like the job,
right.
You could come back and get another, like, Amanda, don't you believe that there's another job out there that you might like just as much or dislike just as much as this one, but you can get it. You can get another job, right? If you were to come back.
Yes. And
you might not love it, right?
Yeah, there's some things about my job that like kind of do make it hard. I'm comfortable. Let's just put it that way, right? The remote work, the salary with the remote work.
Yes.
And I work with good people, as well. There's a lot that keeps me comfortable until I remember that I don't want to be there.
And I'm with you, but do you want to be comfortable or do you want
I
to?
want to be free.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to show my daughter too, just like her grandmother, for example. She's like, well, what, you guys can't just travel forever. You got to get her back in school, and she has to be able to compete with the other kids in college and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, lady, I want her creating her own lane. I don't care about her competing with other
Right.
kids.
But like that's grandma. Grandma is like
Right.
that's why they're there. To go ahead and hate on your plans with their grandbaby, right? Okay. There's a level of comfort, but there's also, you started this by saying your job might kill you, right?
Yes, I do feel that way sometimes.
And so what if, and you can travel with this job, right?
So, quick answer. I did. I was gone all of October. I told my boss. She seemed surprised, but it didn't raise any waves anywhere. I've checked with IT. There's no flag for me coming into the network from outside the country. I've checked the policy in the handbook. It says you have to notify the company if you move. I will not be, quote, moving. I have a home. I'm going to rent it out. I'm not changing my address. I'll forward my mail. So I don't know is the answer. It's a small consulting firm. And I feel like if I advertise my plans, it could generate some, I don't know. We need to look into that.
Some haters gonna come out the woodworks because that's just how life is.
Exactly.
Some haters gonna come out and say, if she can do this, I should be able to. And then everybody should be able to.
Yeah, you know how
Yes.
people are when you get audacity to do something different. Yeah, so I'm not advertising my plan. I haven't made up my mind about that. So we'll just say that yes, tentatively the answer is that I can travel with this job.
Okay. How long of a break can you take right now? Do you think you can take without working and not worry financially?
Well, because I am trying in the middle of, becoming debt free, that's hard to answer. I would have to change my plan and probably sell the house instead of renting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I sold the house, then, I know that probably for a year, and I've done the budget now. I know that I have like a double-sided budget. I'm going to need about 25 grand for my daughter and I to live abroad for a year. And I'm going to need about 25 grand to take care of my expenses at home, my debts. And that's with renting the house, by the way. So I know my numbers.
All right. I'm kind of conflicted about your situation because I don't want you in a job where you say it might kill you. Like, I want you to quit yesterday. I want you to be like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell y'all on Friday, but that was my 2 weeks. Okay, bye.
Let me tell you, we did a presentation last Friday, and I don't know why it triggered my anxiety, but I could as I got into the 24 hours before, there was really big pitch to this really, really big customer. It would be the biggest thing we've ever done. And I couldn't, I was just like, I don't want this life. And the presentation happened and I had, a portion of it, and the VP said I did fantastic, but I didn't feel good about it. I was just like, but I don't want to be here doing this. I can do it. I just don't want to. I'm not interested.
I don't want you doing it either. So let's come up with a new plan. And that might be keeping the job for another, like coming up with an end date that is sooner than 2 years. And I don't know what that is for you. But also starting to look for other remote work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have my first stop is going to be in Leon. Someone asked about the cities. So real quick, the plan is Leon, Mexico for the first 3 months. The reason I'm going there is weird, but I found an Airbnb there for $200 a month. And I went to Guanajuato in October, and we met some kids from Leon, and they were super friendly. And I did my research on Leon. There's a couple of things to do there. It's not a big expat location, but we're trying to learn Spanish, so that's on purpose. Okay. So it's going to be cheap living to help with the transition of getting my home rented. That's the strategy. And then for 5 weeks after that, we'll go to a beach town. I've narrowed it down to Mazatlan or PDC. And then we'll come home because my daughter needs to do state testing for school. So we'll spend 2 weeks back in Texas. And then when we go back, we'll return to Mexico City for 3 months. And then we're probably going to finish in Oaxaca or Mérida. And then we'll come home again for Thanksgiving next year so that my daughter can be with her family. So yeah, that's the plan in a nutshell.
Go ahead and quit that job and find some remote work that you don't hate. Like I don't.
Right. Sell that. But I think it's selling. I didn't want to sell my house because I wanted to do the thing we haven't been able to do in our prior generations, which is pass on, owning property. But then I found out that taxes work totally different in Mexico. And as long as I own this home, I'm already paying like 11 grand a year for property taxes. I'm sick to my stomach at the thought of owning this property that I have to still pay property taxes on every year as long as I own it. And so does my daughter if she owns it. I understand that eventually we'll pay it off and there's income from that. I get it. But it's like, why don't we just buy a house in Mexico for $80,000? We won't be paying 11 grand a year in property taxes.
So the idea of home ownership and passing it on it can be such.
It's romantic.
It's romantic, and it can be such a like generational wealth building activity.
Yeah.
But if it feels like an anchor to you now,
yeah,
you want to be your daughter's 11.
Yeah.
When are we gonna pass on this house to her? In 20, 30 years? You don't want this house now. You're gonna want it in 30 years?
My plan was to get it paid off in the next 5 years. Like I have it all. I was gonna go hard. But then our family members, we have some extended family members that are here with us, and they're the reason I bought this house. It's huge, but it was for a lot of people. Well, they've decided to go their own way. And with that, they're taking their portion of the expenses that they cover. So I'm like, this is too much for me and my daughter. We're out of here. So yeah, I think that what's happening is that I'm expanding my thought about the year of travel was ambitious and bold, but then coming to terms with how I feel about my job has expanded my thought to, okay, sabbatical, right? But then coming to terms with trying to return from a sabbatical to a job that I don't like, or even a career that's just completely unfulfilling. And I've been working since I was 15. So I'm 42 now. So I've been in the game a long time, has made me really go outside the box. Like, why am I holding on to the house? Why not just sell a house to know that I have enough money to enjoy at least 1 year of travel and feel confident in myself that in that year, I will figure it out. I will figure out what I want to do next. I will figure out how to make money, but I will be free mentally and physically to do that.
I was living in Ohio, and I bought a house for myself. Real estate in Ohio, and Columbus was cheap. So I had it paid off, and I worked a lot and paid a lot of money in advance to pay it off. And I had right before I left Ohio, I didn't know I was leaving, but I bought a house to flip it. And so when moved to the Bay Area. I had sold both of those houses because I didn't want to be a long distance landlord. And I had that money in my account and I was looking for a house to buy in the Bay Area. I could not, in 2 houses fully paid off, sold, cash in my hand from Ohio, I could not, that was not enough money for a down payment on a house in the Bay Area. Shalonda is shaking her head. She knows. I'm talking about two fully paid off, paid in full, sold without owing anyone a dime on them. Cash in hand was not enough money to put down on one, not even a down payment on a house in the Bay Area.
Yeah, the Bay Area is ridiculous.
Yes. So what I did was I just held on to the money and I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out the house thing a little later. And so when my job ended, I was like, oh, I have house money. Like, I wanted to buy a house with it, but what if I just traveled for a year with house money? And now, one thing I want us all to be aware of is that the life you want when you start a sabbatical may not be the life you want at the end of your sabbatical. So at the beginning of sabbatical, I was very much like, I love the Bay. I'm going to come back. I'm going to move back to the Bay. I'm going to put down roots there. I'm going to get another job. I'm going to buy a house. And now I'm like, I still love the Bay, but I'm never going back to work there. Like I don't want to pay to live in the Bay. If you see me in the Bay again, he is a gazillionaire. And he pays all of the bills and I get bags of cash. Like that has to, I am not paying to live in the Bay Area again. And so, you know, if you don't see me, you know what happened. I never found the gazillionaire. So I say that to say that the thing that I was fixated on, which was coming back, getting another job, coming back and being able to get another job and move back to the Bay, isn't something I want anymore. I want a simpler lifestyle. I want to live in a place where like, I don't have to work that hard to pay my monthly expenses. And so that is the life I want. And if I had decided to buy a house, well, if I had bought a house in the Bay, I probably wouldn't have left. I probably would have been like, I have a house. I can't sell it. I have to get another job. And I would have worked that job, whether I hated it or loved it or whatever, because I had bills to pay. And so for me, it was a blessing that I never found that house. Because a house sometimes feels like, especially when you first move in, it's this amazing gift to yourself. And it is wonderful. And it is just like joyous. And then sometimes a house feels like an anchor. And it sounds like to you, this house is an anchor right now.
Yeah, because it had the purpose that it had when I bought it has just disintegrated, essentially. It was supposed to be a place for our extended family. And when I walked in, I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I enjoyed living here and I had no plans on moving. But when my family decided that they were leaving, I was like, oh, but I have this financial plan and you guys were factored into it. And so if you're going your separate ways, then I've got to readjust my plan. And I just couldn't see myself going. And it's like, okay, sure, I can downsize. I can go get an apartment, me and my daughter. But it's like, I've been here in Houston for over 20 years now. And it's been good to me. It's fine. But I can't breathe. Like I'm over it. And I knew, like, my daughter, she's grown up here in the suburbs most of her life, but I know that she's a city girl. And when we were in Mexico for a month in October, oh my gosh, yes, she signed on to the dream. She was like, yes, I could live here for a while.
There will be other houses that won't feel as weighty as this one does. I'm not saying that selling the house is the solution. I'm saying quitting that job is like step number 1.
Yeah.
You got to figure something else out. Like that's too much stress. If I were you, I would look for remote work. Libria Jones does remote work coaching. Are you familiar with her?
Doesn't ring a bell immediately.
Okay, let me get her website. Sorry, I'm looking it up.
I'll just share with Amanda. So I at first was like, I'm gonna sell my house, and then when I got connected to my realtor and she sent me the paperwork, I flaked because I realized I'm like emotionally attached to the house. So I took a different route. I'm actually in the process of refinancing it since I have a lot of equity and still keeping it on the same amortization schedule so that I don't pay extra principal or whatever. But I was able to get a really good deal. And actually that is helping me in the financial plan of leaving because I'm able to decrease a lot of my other debt and put it into the home. And I'm gonna give myself a year and I may still sell, once I'm gone, but at least I've kind of altered my plan to kind of help me and still be able to propel me to be able to leave when I want to leave next year.
So you're doing a cash out refi and then paying off debt with.
Yep.
Okay, but your payment won't change.
My payment's my mortgage is gonna increase, but my total mortgage is still going to be less than what I'm paying right now with my mortgage and my 2 credit cards. So I'm actually saving like almost $600 a month, and that money is gonna go towards saving for moving abroad. And then I'll give myself a year once I leave to decide if I want to go ahead and sell the house.
Okay. Yeah. I've considered refinancing too. I've been doing so much that I was like, I don't want to overstress.
But the key is the amortization the same.
Yeah.
A lot of people screw up when they refinance. They do a whole nother 30 years. Like, no,
right. Yeah.
House for 10 years, give me 20 years because that's what I was going to have left anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I have too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
you. How
you,
are you feeling, Amanda?
Thank you, Shonda. I'm feeling like I've just reached that point in my life where it's like time for me to do something bold. The year of travel was the first thing, and I'm really excited about that. But the job decision, yeah, I totally know logically that there's another job out there if I can't figure out what else I want to do. And as a matter of fact, I've never seen more people leave and come back to the job I'm in. It's a whole culture of people leaving and coming back in my job. So I could probably come back to this job if I wanted. So yeah, I think I need to really pray and meditate on giving myself permission to let go of the job. You know, and I know I can, just like I've given myself permission to let go of trying to create stable homes for other people when my heart is spontaneous and adventurous.
Sounds like you're doing a lot for other people, like you said, and not taking care of yourself the way you need to.
Yes, it's an epidemic with us, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It really is. Okay, so I think I want to talk to you in a couple of weeks and figure out how you're feeling about everything, because it seems like
let's do it.
And we should touch base about some of this stuff.
Let's do that.
Okay. Who hasn't spoken yet? Isabella? Karen?
I haven't. It's Rhonda.
Hey, Rhonda.
I had a quick question. And just listening to this, like I'm feeling, and the past coaching socials, they've been great, by the way, Roshida. So thank you so much for this. But now that I'm, working with you ladies and doing this, I'm feeling like I need an additional budget. I feel like I need and that's kind of what my question was in the chat. It's like I have my budget for my sabbatical and I have my plans, pretty working. They're working out. But now I'm feeling like I need a transition budget or like a budget to raise capital for not returning back or, starting my own, type of remote work or business. So I was just wondering about your situation and how you balanced like the budget for living versus a budget for not to return back and get your own business kind of up and going. So does that make sense? Like raising capital versus living.
It does, but like I mentioned in here, I had house money, and so I'm still living off of we talked about this week. It doesn't have to it doesn't have to cost as much as you think to live abroad, and so my business doesn't bring in enough money each month to pay for my living expenses, because no matter how much I try to cut my budget, I'm an expensive woman. So, my budget's always a little higher than I want it to be, but I still have the savings that I had when I left, and enough of it that I'm comfortable. And because it was in the stock market, it's always growing. And so even though the majority of my expenses have been paid out of my savings and my investments, I have more money now than I did when I left. Even though, like I said, I don't think my business pays for itself each month. I don't know. I have to check on that. And so for me, not everyone's going to be in this situation, but for me, it was, because I didn't have things at home that I had to pay for, except for like my storage, which I should have sold everything and not put things in storage, but another story for another day. I didn't have a house that I was holding on to, but I don't have any bills I need to pay at home because I truly let everything go. I had the money. I don't have to pay anything really at home. And I don't have, and the money that I would have had invested like in a home or so, I have to spend on this trip. And so I didn't raise any capital. I don't have a second budget. I just kind of figure out how much money I spend each month. And then I look and see whether I'm doing better or worse than the stock market. Like there was a while earlier this year where I was like, girl, you need to stop spending money because this thing is just tanking. Like, what are you doing? You can't eat ramen because of the gluten, but what if you could? Like, what can you eat? Like broth? Like what are you gonna do? But it turned itself around. And so for me, it's just knowing that I have because the investments are increasing, that's sort of like a source of income each month, but there was no separate raising of capital. It was kind of like I had the money and that gave me the freedom. If you don't have the money, that's the first step. It's the saving. It's the getting rid of the things that you don't need. It's things that you might think you need for your life now, but recognizing that might not be the life when you get back. So you might not need it when you get back, like the house, the apartment you live in, the car, that kind of stuff that might not be things you need when you return. And so things to think about. I would get rid of anything that I could. If I was doing this all over again, I would have get rid of everything I could get $1 from and use that to fund both my travels and my I'm not coming back money. And then hopefully have started something that will allow me to fully fund my living expenses so I don't have to worry about coming back.
Okay.
I think, but the biggest thing is recognizing that the life you have now and the expenses you have now might not be what you want when you get back. And so letting go of anything that's holding you to that will automatically, there will be some money that you free up if you let go of what it is that you have now with the idea that you're going to come back to that. Some money will come from somewhere from doing that, guaranteed.
Okay. I'm just scared to spend my savings. Like the name of my game is Don't Touch Your Savings. And I'm able to take care of this. Like I'm losing my job. So I'm able to fund my sabbatical with simply like my severance package, my retention bonus, my PDL. Like that will cover me. I do have a nest egg and I was just trying not to touch it. But basically what you're kind of saying is, yeah, you're going to have to touch it a little bit. But yeah, I was just wondering if there are other options out there to not touch it still. And
so I want to touch on that a little bit. We're running over time and I'm going to have to cut this short in a minute, but I have to cut it off because we're over time. But I want to touch on not touching your savings. I think a lot of us say like, this money is for later. this money it's for that. But what is that? Like, what is your savings for?
Great question. At one point, it was for a home in
Mhm.
Los Angeles, which is, on the pricier end of
Mhm.
things. So, and now I don't want to do that. And so I had been saving for this house for like 3 years, and I have a nice amount, and I just I do want to buy property, but I would rather buy property outside of California and pay cash and, get it rented out, which I could technically do in a couple states. Um, but to be honest, I don't know. Shit, like I don't have a real answer for you. Like, what am I going to use this money for? Like, there is no specific purpose at this point. It's just, girl, don't have just how these zeros keep adding in this account. Like, it's really, there's no destination for the money. There's no destination.
So I was the same way. I was like, I am saving for retirement. And they weren't all in retirement accounts. So there was money I could take out without paying fees. But I'm saving this money for when I get older. And I'm like, for why? Like, I'm 41. I don't have kids. It's not like I have to pass on. I don't have to fund any college accounts. I don't have money. I'm not going to feel bad if I don't pass a legacy on to my people. So why do I feel bad about spending the money that I've saved? And so it's kind of like, if I don't touch it because I'm saving it for the future, is one day like my goddaughter going to get a check of money that I never touched because I was too scared to touch it, and now something's happened to me and I've been living like below my means. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to
hear
be
you.
I don't want to be the old lady eating cat food because I feel like this is what I need to do to not touch my money, when that's not true. And so I think that it takes a realistic look at like what you have and what you need to hold on to and what you're holding on to it for. And so if that house dream is gone and you don't want to like, if part of your idea is not to come back to the US, I feel like house money is a really good thing to spend on that. You know what I mean? If your dream was to buy this house in LA and that's no longer your dream, spend that dream money. Call it dream money. This is not your dream account. Spend that dream money on your dream of moving abroad and not coming back. It's okay. It's okay.
I think I need to hear that it's okay, because like,
okay.
seriously, like, it doesn't feel okay, but I like to hear that.
It is okay.
It's
like,
okay.
You're not, I think so many of us feel like we are one step away from financial insecurity. And you might be. You know what I mean? Like, that is life. You might be one step away from financial insecurity, but that step isn't going to be following your dreams to move abroad. You know what I mean? Like, it's more likely that you buy a house and for some reason it loses all its value, and that is what takes you to financial insecurity. Moving abroad to a place where you can keep your expenses low and you can like manage your budget and still building a business or something that brings in income, but touching money when you need it, that's not going to drive you into poverty. Like, it's not.
Okay.
If you told me you wanted to go buy a Ferrari with this house money, I'd be like, girl, let's talk. But like, if you're talking about taking out, $1,000 or something a month to live on out of your house money, your dream money, we're calling it now. I don't see the problem.
Yeah. And I'm just really just thinking of taking some to, really kick off. Like, I have a lot of ideas. I am going to do the one-on-one with Libria. I hope I'm not mispronouncing her name.
Yes.
Because I do have a lot of ideas on what to do and how to make money remotely. I just feel like sometimes you just have to invest in yourself. And I guess, I just want to be sure that that's like the good thing to do, but it makes sense. Like, I'm not going to get that. Eventually, if I decide to get the house in LA, like, that's fine, but it's not in the forefront anymore, like, at all. Like, I'm not running towards that anymore. And I do have the money there, but I feel like I do need to have permission to give myself permission to touch it. And I'm struggling with that.
I would consider writing down all the things you could use the money for otherwise, and figuring out how they compare in priorities to your life to this time off.
Okay.
Because sitting in a bank account somewhere doing nothing can't be a bigger priority for you. I mean, savings. We always think about like, savings as a priority. So I'm not gonna pretend that's not. But like saving for what? So if you're saving for X and X is more of a priority than traveling, maybe you don't touch the money. But if there is nothing you're like,
right,
you would rather use this money for, then give yourself permission.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Can I say
Okay.
something?
Go ahead.
I've been watching, a lot of your coaching sessions and the people that I'm a mom. I have a 24 and a 25-year-old. Had I known this when I divorced my ex-husband, oh my gosh, I would have left. And we watched Asia, her training session, which was unbelievable. And what she did, she realized it was more important for her to spend time with her child. And so she left. She went to Mexico. She's in Mexico, am I correct?
She's back in Atlanta now, but she's moving back to Mexico.
Oh, okay. She's living her life. I mean, they've worked it out with school online, and she's doing amazing. And then I'm watching other people. They talked about properties and having properties, and one of the things that they said is, I wish I would have sold everything and gone over, because it was such an inconvenience to come back and sell everything. So I'm just saying that because these are things I've been learning from these coaching sessions, which have been unbelievable. Roshida, you're unbelievable. And I just want to thank you so much, because I wish I would have had this information, this knowledge 10, 15, 20 years ago, but I don't, but that's okay. It's, everything happens for a reason, but
Late than never. And your daughter has the info now.
Yes, she does. Oh, and I am drowning. I'm like, entrepreneurship, remote. Girl, she loved Mexico City. I'm like, girl, you can do this. You don't have any responsibilities. Go now and do it now.
Okay. I had a hard stop at 11:30, so I have to run. You guys, if you have any questions, shoot them to me by email. If you want to schedule a one-on-one session with me, I'll send you the scheduling link just in case. And any follow-up questions, shoot me an email. We'll talk. All right. Have to go. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Talk to you later. Hope this helped a lot. Bye.